Imagine that you're in a boxing ring. Have you ever seen a boxing match?
Yeah.
You know how they last, they're very short, like each round, usually like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And imagine you're in the boxing ring, right? And there's people all around spectating, and you're in the ring with someone. When your attention is held in a certain way, and you're tensing up your whole body and you're bracing for impact and you're calculating when you can strike, how quickly do you think you'll get tired?
Yeah, pretty quick.
And we see these very fit men. They train so much, like they probably have more energy and capacity than all of us combined here times 10 because they're highly trained. But even those people can only last a couple of minutes,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Why is that? It's because of the tensing that's happening as they're in the ring. Even staying, even like just not hitting or blocking is exhausting. That's how most people play the game of business.
Yeah, in
And
that fight and flight mode the whole time.
so what happens is that even if they're not doing anything particularly heinous, just being in the game, being in the ring tires them out and they end up getting more fatigued and more exhausted. And now they're completely drained, they're completely wiped. And they're just like trying to keep their eyes open and trying to stay in the game. And then it's like, okay, let me push a little bit more. Let me find from my reserves a little bit more capacity. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
There's this obscure fourth century Russian martial arts that I have been training. And the whole idea is when you get punched, most people, their instinct is to tense up, right? Because they think that's going to protect them if they tense up and they get really rigid. But that actually is what makes it hurt. So the whole philosophy of this martial arts is you release all the tension and you go into a state of ease and you almost see the punch as a gift. You don't see it as something undesirable that's about to happen to you. And in doing that, the energy of the punch, it doesn't hurt. It actually, you receive it almost as energy from food. So the opponent gets weaker and more tired as they go along, as they use the typical application of force. But because we're so at ease, it's only filling us up with energy.
Hmm.
It doesn't tire us out. The way we want to feel is really bright, really light, really energized, really alive, and feel like we can be in there for forever, for a lifetime. Most ways to play the game will not lead to that. There's only one internal architecture that allows us to stay in the ring, to stay in the game. And my bar here is quite extreme, which is the game that I'm playing and the game that I'm teaching to other founders is not that, hey, how do we find a way to get tired less or at a slower rate? The game I'm playing is how do I get more energized the longer I stay in the ring? I'm not just trying to stay barely awake with a pulse. I'm not trying to even maintain. I'm trying to flip the script completely, where the longer I play the game, the longer I'm in the ring, the more alive, the more energized, the more turned on, the more fired up I get. There's only one way to make that possible. We have to A, construct the game to lead to that. It's a very specific game that will lead to that. Most other ways of playing the game won't. Rather, all other ways won't. The game has to be perfectly aligned for me. I can't be playing someone else's game because then I'm going to get tired and fatigued. And my relationship to the game has to be very clean. And it has to be very specific in that I'm not creating tension as I play. I'm letting go of tension. And in fact, playing the game is liberating parts of me that were locked up before. But as they unlock, they give me back energy. That's my why. Because what I found for myself is I don't, there's some people, they're really excited by owning a bunch of fancy cars, or they want a big house and they want whatever. Like, I don't, took me a while to like really accept that I'm not motivated by the things that, like generally in the entrepreneurship space, we see people motivated by. I don't care about those things, but I care about this. My why is constructing my game to be my masterpiece that is so well designed for me that it's maximally energizing. Because if we're not playing the game of business in this way, then it's not as fun as it could be. And I think that's possible for all of us, but we have to be willing to A, face those parts of ourselves, but really commit to making this a reality because only when we play the game in this way, I think is it truly sustainable because otherwise we're just going to get tired.